Awesome. Well, we'll welcome Adam Bighill on to the Athletes Podcast, two-time Grey Cup champion, joining us here today in the middle of April here with the quarantine striking down. I don't even know what day it is now on during quarantine, but how are you feeling and how's it treating you?
It's going well. Just making the best of it. I think that's all we can all do. And working from home, training from home. Spend a lot of time with the family. There's a lot of good things going on. Being able to spend more time with family, I really enjoy. So, I think just making the best of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we said before we started on here, it's that silver lining aspect of quarantine. Being trapped inside with family, at least, is one of those positives that we can look at. Just to sort of, as we start here, you just come off a Grey Cup winning championship season with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Shout out to you guys and your team. How does it feel right now in this off season when you guys are, leading up, preparing to try and repeat as Grey Cup champions? And now with the world on hold, how are you guys doing? Are you guys hanging in there? Are you still training? What's the expectations for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the expectations are at some point we're going to get back on the field. I mean, first and foremost is the safety of everybody, and there's a lot of logistics that go into it, right? And it's at a government level even. So, there's only so much we can even plan for or do at the current moment. So the only thing you can do is stay ready. And we firmly believe that at some point there's going to be a season, but not sure when. So just training as best as you can and preparing for the time when it comes. So that's all we can really do. And but getting back out on the field and trying to go repeat as Grey Cup champs, and we know we got a good squad again. We got a good chance. We can't wait to unveil that Grey Cup banner at the IG Stadium. So I mean, a lot of things to look forward to this coming season when we get an opportunity to get back out there.
How has the city of Winnipeg embraced you since you came over? Obviously, winning a Grey Cup helps, but from my first memory of watching CFL football, watched it. I'm a BC Lions fan at heart. I saw you win the Grey Cup in 2011 with guys like Solomon Elimimian, Andrew Harris. The list goes on. How has it been transitioning over to the city of Winnipeg, and what's that fan base like?
It's been really good. The fan base has been very welcoming. It's been awesome. They've just given a lot of support, and you can tell how passionate they are. For the fact they hadn't won a Grey Cup for so long, and the fact that we could feel that hunger and bringing a Grey Cup back and the kind of reaction that we had, the parade that we had, the just overall fire that was throughout the entire province and the city. I mean, it was just apparent like how amazing the fan base is and, how happy they were. So, I mean, it's been a great transition, getting to play in front of so many fans here in the prairies. And, I love it. I love being here in Winnipeg, and it's been a great transition.
Are you at all concerned? You've got this, I was doing a bit of research, and you've got the Bighill Godzilla burger. That's a staple in the city of Winnipeg now. How many calories are in that thing? What are the macros breakdown? And are you consuming one of those a week to keep those calories up?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you want to disclose the calorie information, but no. I mean, it's probably around just the burger itself is probably around probably 850 to 1,000 calories because it's double patty, double cheese, got double bacon, you got fried cheese curds on top of it. You have, sauteed onions. I mean, it's pretty big burger. It's massive. It's delicious. Most delicious burger I've ever had. So, it's definitely, you want to make sure you come full. Don't have breakfast, and, if you're going to have it for lunch, you're going to be having your hands full. So,
was that started by you, or did that restaurant approach you with an inspiration?
No, it's a good question. They did approach me as part of an idea for just doing some a way to partner and be able to provide some money to the charity I work with, Making Faces. So part of the proceeds from that burger go towards the charity of Making Faces, which I'm on the board of directors for. So Making Faces helps kids with facial differences. We run workshops that help build confidence, help build all these kinds of things that kids have to deal with that grow up living with facial differences. So we're actively working on improving their lives and sharing our stories to let them know that they can be as successful as anyone else, and there's no reason to be held back by anything. It was great. It was a great partnership, being able to create a big, amazing, great burger that people can enjoy. And then, hopefully they feel inclined to want to buy that more often than something else, because they're also going to be giving back to a charity when they do buy the burger. So it's been really good.
Yeah. And the facial differences, it's something that you've experienced your whole life with cleft lip, and as well with your son, Bo. It's a touchy subject for a lot of people with Wendy Williams, what occurred there. Do you want to dive into a bit of that, how that sort of all came to a head, spearheaded, and how you were able to, ultimately get an apology from her, and then, try and shine a positive light on these facial differences, and, like you said, bring confidence to these individuals?
Yeah, well, Wendy's actions, they were definitely uncalled for, and so it just, it sparked me to bring action to the case, because there's just so many people that don't have a voice, and they can't, they can't stand up for themselves. And at the end of the day, with great power comes great responsibility. So Wendy Williams, with millions of followers, people who watch her show, she has to be educated and has to be very thoughtful with the things she says, because they carry a lot of weight, and you are in the spotlight. So just like me as a professional athlete, everything I say or do is magnified. My campaign was just to be bringing awareness to the issue every single day. And after 6 days of me bringing the issue to light and people jumping on and sharing it, it went viral, and, we were able to get an apology, and we were able to get a donation. So, that was important to me, just like I said, because there's so many people out there that, definitely felt attacked and definitely felt, the weight of her words and her actions. So, it was great for me to be able to stick up for those people and do something about it. But yeah, at the end of the day, when I became a professional athlete, it's one thing I wanted to do is use my platform to help people with cleft issues or facial differences. I grew up with it my entire life. I have, had to go through a lot of stuff just to deal with it, like anybody else. But, it's something that, I didn't know any other cleft heroes per se when I grew up. I didn't really know anybody who had a cleft, and I a bit felt alone. I couldn't really identify with anybody in particular, just because there was no one exactly like me, so I want to be able to be that light for people. I want to be able to be that example. I want to be able to be that story that people can look to and see success and realize that, like I said, they can do anything they want to do. So, like I said, this is using my platform is what I wanted to do, and then I'm looking to do it in more ways now. Adding the burger into it with a restaurant is another example, but looking to get involved more with other charities in the area, like Operation Smile and so forth. So, just this issue brought to light a lot of things, but which, awareness being one. So we were able to bring, some positive light to the situation and bring more awareness, which was good. So, just kind of going forward, those are my focuses, and, that's kind of how the event transpired and where we're at now.
It makes sense. And kudos to you for being able to do that and using your platform in kind of the best way possible. You see a lot of professional athletes who may be trying to monetize in other ways, and it takes a lot of guts and a lot of spirit from deep down to be able to do something like that. So let's bring it to a lighter subject here. Let's talk about some of your football, where you started growing up, what got you into football, what went through. You're from Washington, so coming from the States, moving up to the CFL after not getting drafted in that NFL. What was it like going through that, those first couple of years of your professional career?
Sure. I grew up small town, Montesano, Washington, huge football area, huge football state. I told my parents when I was 7 years old I wanted to play professional football.
Wow.
As I got to high school, the Friday night lights, watching the high school team play, those are very powerful moments and things I really aspired to really be a part of. So, it was when I got to high school, I realized the magnitude of all the actions that, you make every day. All the choices that you make every single day are either going to make you better or they're going to make you worse. My goals were to play professional football. And, if I was serious about that, then I had to start making a lot of choices that reflected that. So, I made a lot of sacrifices, was working extremely hard, doing a lot of things as positive as I could, to be able to give myself a chance to make it to the next level. And, that's what I did. And at the end of the day, I was under recruited coming out of high school based on size of school, being 5'10", 200 pounds. Washington State came by my school D1 program and said, hey, we told my coach, hey, we'd give him a scholarship if he was 2 inches taller, so those are the kind of adversities that I was kind of going against. I was invited to the regional Nike Combine, and I was cited as one of the best linebacker performers and at the entire camp. We're looking at the Northwest Regional, California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, all these, best of the best coming from the area. And, that was, I was one of the best there, but still wasn't given any D1 offers other than preferred walk-ons. So, it's one of those things that, you kind of learn early on that these scouts, they're measuring, what they can measure, but they're measuring effectively for me the wrong thing. And the thing they could have been measuring, you should have been measuring, was the size of my heart and what I'm willing to do to be successful. Because at the end of the day, I've always been willing to work harder than people and do more and put in more work and sacrifice more to get where I want to go. And, why I am where I am now is not by accident. It's because of what I've been willing to do, and do it consistently. You can't just do it one day, 1 week. It's got to be over and over and over again to be able to make something special happen. So, I got a scholarship for a D2 college at Central Washington University. Mike Riley, obviously, great quarterback in the CFL. He was my teammate for a couple of years. So we played together, and, he obviously went to the CFL after he bounced around the NFL for a little bit, and kind of sparked my interest to learn more about the CFL. And, coming out of college, I came out during the NFL lockout, one of the worst times you could ever come out of college. You don't get drafted, it's, the entire NFL business shut down. They weren't signing free agents. I went to the D2 All-American game and was talking to scouts. They're talking about potential 6th, 7th round draft pick. And, it never matured. So, I was waiting for free agent pickup, as they said that'd be, top of the list, and, no luck. So, with that lockout throwing the wrench and things, I decided to go up to the CFL and take a contract. So, that alone, still a challenge. I had a pro day, worked out in front of Seattle, scout from BC Lions was there and so forth, and did really, really well. And, but still the BC Lions weren't calling and knocking on my door at all. And,
no way.
So after the lockout occurred, I went for the open workout for the Lions in Portland. And Wally Wano was there running it. So I didn't know who he was at the time, but at the same time, I was trying to get a contract up north, or I was trying to impress some people. So I went to this workout and absolutely dominated it. And it was funny that, how things come full circle. There was 2 linebackers from Washington State University there for the workout looking for a contract. Both would be guys that would have gotten scholarships to Washington State University over top of me at that time. So, the way that these workouts work is you do your testing, they cut some people, you do some individuals, they cut some people, you do some skelly, they cut some people, and then whoever's left is whoever's left. And then whoever's left, they'll call individually and be like, hey, thank you for coming, but, we're not going to offer you a contract, so forth. So there's layers to the workouts. And, both of these linebackers were cut after the first round of cuts at the tryout camp. So, here these guys are who are D1 scholarship guys from Washington State, maybe 2 inches taller than me, that got cut at the first round of cuts in these workouts. And I end up getting a contract offer from BC, right? So it's kind of interesting how things come full circle, and that, you can realize your dreams from any college you go to, but you have to put in the work. It makes it a little bit tougher for sure coming from a D2 program, but I definitely made it work. And that was just the beginning, because just because you get a contract to go up to camp and compete doesn't mean you get a job. You still have to go win a job in training camp. So there's a lot more to be said on that subject going into BC in that training camp. But I went up there and did it, and surprised a lot of people along the way. They didn't know what to expect from a small school guy, undersized guy, and essentially lit the training camp on fire and performed really well in preseason. So, Wally Buono, I remember asking him a couple years after, hey, what made you sign me and whatnot, because a little bit more to the story was after about a week after that workout, they called and said, hey, we're not going to be able to bring you to camp. We don't have enough room for you. And then the very next day, I got a call saying, hey, are you still available? We're able to bring you to camp. So, that one day I was thinking football might be done. And the next day I was actually now heading back up to camp. So, and I remember asking Wally, why did you sign me? And he's like, well, I just couldn't believe what my eyes were telling me. He just wasn't used to seeing someone of my stature or my size or whatever I was doing at a level that I was doing that consistently. So it was interesting. I think there were a few people in my corner that helped push him to bring me to camp, which was good. But, at the end of the day, like I said, it's just it's about getting opportunities and taking advantage of them. So, I've always been the guy that I just need an opportunity. That's all I need, because when I come in, I'm going to show you how I work. I'm going to outwork everybody. I'm going to outlearn everybody. I'm going to classroom, weight room, whatever it is, sleeping, eating, whatever it takes to be better than everybody else. I'm looking at doing it because, people already telling me I'm 2 inches shorter than you, and that's a deficiency. Well, then I can't have any other weaknesses, because they're just looking for one reason to say, yeah, we're not going to go with you. So that's all I've ever needed was an opportunity to show what I can do. And when opportunity comes, I take advantage of it because I prepare for it. So, that leads kind of to the NFL discussion, after winning Defensive Player of the Year and, CFL All-Star, 4 times or so before I get an opportunity to go to the NFL. It was the same kind of experience. I was ready to go down to the NFL and make my debut and take advantage of the opportunities. But signing with the Saints, it's the first time the NFL is just a bigger business. It's different, and it's not about necessarily the best football players. It's about a lot of other things. And I didn't really understand that. I've heard it, but I never really understood it. And I think you got to go down there and experience it for yourself to understand what they mean. But my performance throughout training camp was hands down, elite compared to the other guys around me, the linebackers I was competing with. But at the same time, it didn't earn me a spot on the roster all year long. I played 3 games active that year, but at the same time, I learned that, I didn't have a big signing bonus. I wasn't drafted. I didn't go to a big school. I didn't have a huge pedigree behind me, other than being a CFL All-Star and a Defensive Player of the Year, but to them, that the weighting of that was pretty minimal to the things I just mentioned that they put a lot of pedigree on, especially, height, weight, those things are very important for them too. And I didn't really understand that, just because, like I said, I've always been the guy, well, give me an opportunity, I'll take advantage of it, and I'll show you what I can do consistently and make plays. And, that's what I did in training camp. But, Sean Payton mentioned well, I don't know if, at will linebacker, we like a little bit more length at that spot. I think you're more of a middle linebacker, but, we also like certain size requirements, so, I was kind of being pigeonholed into, a corner that, hey, you're a really good football player, but you're just not tall enough for us to even consider it, kind of thing, right?
So they're still bringing in those different kind of statistics, whether it's height, weight, et cetera, and they're using those as benchmarks that you need to hit a minimum of that to be able to play a certain position in the NFL. That's insane.
Well, there's certain coaches that will do that. I mean, I think that certain coaches are growing up in certain pedigrees. So Sean Payton learned under Bill Parcells. So Bill Parcells is kind of the mindset, he was set on quote saying, I'll never have a quarterback under 6'5", right? Bill Parcells is very much like cookie cutter. This is what I'm looking for, size, height, weight, go find it. Don't come back to me if you don't have it, right? And my linebacker coach was Mike Nolan, who was a former head coach for the San Francisco 49ers. So he's coached some good linebackers in his day, Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, and stuff like that. And and me and him had a really good relationship, and he loved what I did. And but unfortunately, like, everything was out of his control because he's not the head coach. He's just a linebacker coach, and so he saw the value I could bring, and he knew it had nothing to do with size, height, weight. I was 234 pounds, and I think our average linebacker group was 230, and but like, I wasn't 6'1", and he didn't care. He's like, when I first met him, he's like, listen, you're obviously here for a reason. You're a good football player. You're obviously undersized, so I'm looking forward to seeing how you make up for not being 2 inches taller. I'm looking forward to seeing the things that you do that make you play like you're 6'2". So show me. And throughout training camp, that's what I did, and that's why me and him developed such a great relationship, because he's like, I've learned to, in this league, I've learned what matters, and it's not about the stats of this, that, or the other. It's about guys who affect the ball, guys who make plays. So guys who are forcing turnovers, guys who are picking up fumbles, guys who are putting people in position to be successful, communicating really well, and being leaders. Like, those are the things I put a lot of value in, and I think if Mike was the defensive coordinator or the head coach, I would have definitely had a position, right? But like, there's just certain coaches in the NFL that they subscribe to one way of thinking, and unfortunately, I was in a position that didn't give me a lot of room for success there, despite being there for a year and getting to play on the roster a bit. But that's life. I mean, at the end of the day, I was released the next year in OTAs, and I took a couple workouts with Tampa Bay and Indianapolis. It was offered contracts, but the signing bonuses weren't what I wanted, because I knew the league was based on how much you get paid is a big part of, if they're going to keep you around or not. And, they were telling me they love me, but, at the same time, if you're not going to put the dollar figure behind on the signing bonus that, tells me that, then, I'm rolling dice to find myself maybe in the same situation I was before. And, I didn't want to do that. So that's why I came back to the CFL and was just happy to do it, and I came back to Winnipeg, and a couple plays short of winning the Grey Cup in 2018 and, win Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, it's a great way to come back and get back to doing what I do best, and obviously finishing with a Grey Cup victory this year. I mean, my journey has been interesting. It's been awesome. It's been amazing. I've loved every minute of it. I'm keeping going and working on still being a better player.
Yeah, it's one of the things that, so to take it back, that 2011, when you came in, you did, like you said, light up training camp. It was ridiculous that in all of BC, the entire province, every football fan was watching you play. And it was another level of emphasis, and you could tell that your heart was in it every single play. There wasn't anyone out there that was working harder than you. And it showed, despite you guys being all wearing helmets, you could tell that you were the one that wanted it the most, and you could see it on the field because you had so many more tackles. You were just a machine out there. So you come back, you win CFL Defensive Player of the Year in 2018, just short of that Grey Cup. What does this game of the Canadian Football League look like and compared to the NFL? Obviously, with an extra down in the NFL, that affects you as a defensive player quite a bit. And it could significantly affect your, athleticism, what you're required to do on all 4 downs, right? How did you kind of compare that, and what's been your kind of process through that whole thing? Has it changed the way you train?
Let's just start here. Like, the fact that the NFL game, when everybody asks me questions, that how is the NFL game compared to with CFL, and how much harder is it? And the funny answer that people are blown away by every time is the CFL is much harder. The CFL, the NFL, when I went down there, it was so easy. Like, you have no idea how easy it was. In a CFL, you think about what happens. You have receivers moving around all over the place at the snap of the ball, creating different variations of plays that can be happening. And so as a linebacker, my eyes need to be able to see everything. Peripheral needs to be able to catch all of the movement and see what's going on. Where in the NFL, you just have one guy who can move lateral at a time, and it's very stagnant. Everything's set in place. They line up in a formation, and I can pretty much tell you one of 2 plays that are going to occur. And with that being said, I mean, it's what makes it so easy, right? Like my eyes in the NFL could be here as opposed to CFL being out here. And as a linebacker, you need to be able to play fast and react fast. Well, in the NFL, I could play that much faster because I could react. My eyes were trained to see more, and the fact that I was able to narrow them in even I mean, just play so much faster. So that, and the field is smaller, narrower. I mean, even though there are maybe some better athletes overall, like in the NFL, like maybe you have guys that are, on average a little bit faster. I mean, you have the freak shows of the NFL that there's just not guys like that in the CFL. I mean, but still they don't have as much room to run. Like they can't get up the speed is the same. There's less room to run around. So at the same time, like, Adrian Peterson couldn't outrun me to the sideline on a toss, and Adrian Peterson's fast, but like he had nowhere to go, and I'm just as fast accelerating, but maybe in the top end speed over 100 yards, he can outrun me, but not sideline to sideline. You know what I mean? So it was interesting from that standpoint. But like I said, the NFL is easier. It's a different style of game. Let's put it that way. Like there's much more power run game involved. And with the extra down, I mean, that's the biggest difference, that the style of game is different. CFL requires you to be a much better thinker, a much better athlete in general in space, because you got to be able to do a lot more coverage in space. It requires you to be able to run faster. It requires you to be a lot more athletic just overall. Like there's a lot of guys in the NFL that are just stiff because they've never been asked to have to do the things that you'd have to do in the CFL. You got to be loose. I mean, you can see guys in college that have played the NFL style of game in college their entire life, and then they come up with the CFL as a linebacker and you're asked to do certain things, and you can just tell they've never been asked to do those things, and they're stiff, and they just look stiff doing it, and it's just the way it is. So I mean, the CFL is a unique game as far as what the demands of athleticism puts on players.
So that it leads into a two-part question, and one of it being it's a difficult, because there's so many variables, whether it's TV contract deals, the conglomerate that is the NFL versus the CFL. But why is it that the CFL has continued to struggle over the years to gain a substantial following that can afford to pay players salaries that are even comparable to what the NFL has? We talk about the fact that the CFL is just a smaller league, less teams, XYZ, there's different variables, but why is it that we can't seem to, north of the 49th parallel, get the athletes that want to be coming up here and playing at that top level?
I think it's a good question. I mean, I don't think there's enough room in the world for two major leagues like that compete to each other. I mean, the CFL paid just as well as the NFL. How do you choose? You want to go play in the CFL? You want to play in the NFL? They both pay the same. What are the differences? I don't think there will ever be able to be a time that the CFL could compete on the level. But I mean, you think about everything that goes into running a business. You're looking at TV dollars, you're looking at media sponsor dollars, where are people finding value? And that all comes down to consumerism and the population in Canada. How many people are in Canada relative to the United States? Not as many, right? How many of those people in Canada love watching football? That comes down to the consumerism, and opposed to, say, the hockey, right? Like Canada just has been matured and built and ingrained in the hockey nature, and so therefore it's a lot more reasonable to have NHL hockey teams up here, and the pay to be what it is because of consumerism, and demand is a little bit more, and it would take a lot for the CFL to get to a place like that. And not that I don't think it could ever get close, but there's got to be a bit of a shift in the consumer demand for football. And but that also starts with growing the game at a younger age for kids, and then getting more kids involved, and creating superheroes. Like the NFL creates superheroes. They create guys that are extremely looked up to. And the CFL needs to do a better job of interacting and finding those kinds of relationships with a younger audience, and we need to be able to, on a whole, provide quality football for younger kids and kids throughout the country, right? You got to develop football actually for kids to play, and I think Canada is doing better with that, and I think that's improving, but it's still something that's not as popular. Like I said, when I was in high school and I looked at the Friday night lights of high school players playing on the field and how the entire town showed up to watch the game, you know, that feeling like that I had, that's the kind of feeling that kids need to have here in Canada for what they're seeing, right? There needs to be something that means something to them because they think it's so cool. They think it's so special. Like, you know, and there needs to be a feeling of fan engagement, the people who want to come watch those high school games. Like, you know, I've been to high school games in Canada where, you know, maybe just parents show up, or some parents aren't even showing up watching their kids because for whatever reason, it's not a big deal. You know, you need to create football as a big deal, and there's a lot of layers to that, but at the end of the day, it needs to happen at younger ages, and it needs to be more engagement. And you know, I think that's the way to go. I mean, if you look at it too, I mean, as a little bit of a sidebar, I mean, coaches in high school in the United States are paid to coach any sport.
Yeah.
Track, hockey, you know, football, baseball, they're paid. And I think that's extremely important because they're paid for a reason. They're paid to, obviously, for their time to be able to run a program and provide a service for kids. But they're also mentoring kids. They're giving kids an outlet to learn more and become better, productive humans in our communities, right? Like the things you learn throughout athletics and sports, how to be a great team member, how to be dedicated, how to be selfless, how to, you know, have dedication and desire and be able to be self-motivated. These are all things you learn from playing sports. Not that you can't learn it from other ways, but a lot of people learn those from sports, and a lot of businesses later on in life are looking for people with those kinds of qualities. And so, you know, coaches are also providing those kinds of mentoring opportunities, and it's extremely important that those are offered to kids. And so when you're paid to do those things, I mean, you just put a little bit more emphasis on how much service you're going to provide because you're getting paid to do it, and you do it because you enjoy it, but you're also getting paid to do it. So it's a little more incentive to be better because, well, what if you're not cutting it? Well, you're going to fire you and they're going to find someone else who's better than you and pay them. You know, even though it might not be a huge salary, it's still like a nice little bonus that someone can make for the year, right? It can make $5,000 coaching extra a year. That's a big deal. It might be 10%, you know, or 5% of their contract. So
On top of what they normally would be doing in a full-time job, right? It's a lot of people don't realize that volunteer role, the couple extra hours you put in every day, that adds up over time. And when you could be doing something else, right?
Exactly. So if you're looking at Canada and you don't got coaches getting paid to do anything, I've seen programs that just run terribly. You know, coach will show up every now and then, you know, like assistant coaches will be running the practice because the coach isn't always there, or, you know, you got coaches there, assistant coaches aren't always showing up. And when you don't treat the program serious as a coach, guess who isn't also going to take it serious? The players. And if players aren't taking it serious, how are you going to develop football? How are their friends going to want to be motivated to come out and play when, you know, the organization, the whole thing is being ran like crap, or the program is being ran like crap? So, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to create incentive for coaches to want to be able to be there and give their everything to players and kids, which is, it's super important to be able to develop and mentor kids. So, you know, I'm a huge advocate for getting this thing going forward in Canada because it's so important on so many levels. And, you know, I think that's just a sidebar topic of being able to develop sports in general in Canada, but especially football.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm excited for that. We'll have to chat off air about what that looks like for athletics in Canada. Okay, a couple questions. I've got one basically to do with that 2011 team in BC, the Lions. I grew up watching them, so that's why I've got an emphasis on it. You had a couple legends like Geroy Simon, Paul McCallum in that dressing room. Take us through what they were like, what they, you know, because there's those stories of Paul McCallum running the same drills that Geroy Simon was running as a kicker compared to a wide receiver. What was their work ethic like? And, you know, even a guy like Travis Lulay, having those three in the dressing room as veterans going through the program, how were they, and what did that team look like in 2011?
Oh, the team, the team went through some drastic changes as far as just confidence. You know, we started 0-5, and I'd never lost 5 games in a row in my life, let alone lose 5 games in the season. Like
Yeah.
college, high school, those are things that never happened to me. So it was really interesting as a rookie. We'd go 0-5, and Wally was getting pretty ticked.
Yeah.
And, but at the end of the day, I mean, we turn around, like, win 12 in a row, and we get the first round seed, and so it was an interesting change in dynamic throughout the season. We brought in a couple new guys, but at the end of the day, like, guys like Travis and G-Roy and Paul were there to kind of keep things even, right? Like, they knew what it took to win. They've done it before. So they just kept bringing focus back to what creates success, and it just comes with every man doing his job and putting in the effort, putting in the work, and doing it for each other. So I think, obviously it was a huge part to those veterans, or even like a guy like Brent Johnson too, right? Like,
Yeah.
and been around and done it. So it took definitely some focus from those guys to be able to create the positive environment, the confidence that we can go and do it. And sure enough, we did. And it just, like I said, it just came down to us believing in each other every single day, and putting in the work every single day, because you don't show up and win on game day. You show up and win during the week. And I think it just took us doing a lot more preparation on that side of things.
And you talk about that during the week, going through those reps. The program that you're going through now, you've talked about on your Instagram, which you post some crazy clips of you working out and just ridiculous feats of strength. Sorry. So, we'll direct people to your Instagram to hopefully showcase what that is and put it up on our YouTube. But can you talk a bit about your program and what you've got going there with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the Athletes Podcast, right? So, I mean, it's probably no better place to showcase, like what I do for athletes as my training program. Yeah, my training program is built for athletes. It's, especially built to be customized even further for contact athletes. My entire life, I've dedicated my life to training, but that doesn't mean I've trained the right way from the beginning of my time in high school. I've learned so much. I've done so many things wrong. I missed a lot of key points, and gotten to a point now where I've had enough experience. I've met enough professionals in the world, across the world, that I basically I've figured out the exact way we should be training. I mean, and it took a lot of mistakes to get there. So at the end of the day, like, for example, in high school, I was super strong, but I wasn't very flexible. So I illustrate this story a lot because it speaks to the program and what I do now. The fact that, I was squatting 600, deadlifting 550, benching 340, cleaning 300, but I was running a 4.740, like a 4.7. Well, I ran a 4.79 electric 40. And then I realized how inflexible I was. I wasn't flexible at all. I could barely touch my toes. My hip flexors were all locked up. My glutes and everything was just so tight. So over the summer, I stretched 2 times a day, an hour each day, morning and night, hour in morning, hour at night. I did a stretching session. On top of still working out and training. So I was all still doing my other training. I just added 2 hours of stretching a day. So what that did was, when I came back after summer to do our testing for high school before the season started, I went from, a high 4.740 to a 4.5040.
Wow.
So then that's
impressive.
Also why, while gaining 10 pounds of muscle mass, so I got bigger, I got stronger, and I got faster while getting more flexible. So at the end of the day, you think, what was the missing link? It was clearly my ability to move. So you think about, you could be the strongest person in the world, but if you don't have any ability to express that motion, and you just barely could take 2-inch steps and move, well, your power and strength would be for nothing, because they can't express anything. So if you think about having all the mobility in the world but no strength, well, you can move everywhere but have no strength to move you anywhere. So you can move throughout a great range of motion, but you have no strength to actually move your body. Okay. Now imagine yourself having all the strength and all the movement and putting those together. That's where I developed this program, is building strength and length, so that you have the ability to express your motion with lots of strength and power. And if you agree with me there, then you would agree that that is the exact definition of increasing your athleticism.
Correct.
Athleticism is basically your ability to express movement at any point in time and any decision based on predetermined what you want to accomplish or based on reaction. If you can open your hips and turn and run to a more degree than someone else and faster than someone else, that's a definition of being more athletic, right? In that context. So,
Yeah.
you know, my program is built on making athletes more athletic. I can make them I can keep them the same weight, make them stronger, make them more athletic, make them more flexible. I can put 10 pounds of mass on them and make them still bigger, stronger, faster, and more flexible. All this, and all while it makes you healthier. So, you know, like I said, I made so many mistakes throughout my life of training. You realize you're building bad habits, and those bad habits not only are making you not as athletic, but they also put you at risk for more injury. You know, so, you know, you wonder why guys are pulling hamstrings or blowing ACLs on non-contact injuries when they're not even getting hit. They're blowing their own ACLs. Well, it's because of the training they're doing. They're not effectively learning how to move their body and build their body from the ground up to protect themselves. You know, so lots of athletes going to college right now, go into their strength programs and actually get slower. They get bigger, they get stronger. They don't get much faster. They actually get slower, and they also increase their odds of getting injured.
Right.
So, you know, those are the things that I've looked to solve, and those are the things I have solved with the program. So, it's built on strength through length, and you know, if you follow me on Instagram, like those are the things you're going to see is me sharing some of those things with you. So, you know, I'm launching a website right now that's going to have more information on, you know, the top mistakes high school athletes are making. I'm going to have you know, lots of content there, and I'm going to be having a Facebook group kind of going through detailed ways of looking at training, detailed videos on specific exercises, why I like them, why you should be doing them, things talking about the length and strength principles, and basically building your body up from the ground up mathematically. I mean, at the end of the day, if I can get you to accomplish numbers relative to your body weight, I can probably tell you effectively some of the capabilities you're looking at doing. Like, hey, well, if you get to these numbers relative to your body weight, you know, you probably should be able to dunk a basketball. All of the stats that we have, you know, of the 1,000 athletes we have doing the program, on average, if they get to these levels, they're dunking, they're running 4 or 5 40s, they're doing these things. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's ridiculous.
Mathematically, it makes sense. And from what we've worked with athletes, it's absolutely true that, you know, if I can get you to do reverse step ups at 100% of your body weight on your back on a bar, and you're, you know, 6 foot, you should be able to dunk, you know, like stuff
Crazy.
like that. Right? So, it's pretty fun because, you know, we've helped a lot of athletes get healthier, fix knee problems, fix back, shoulder issues, ankle issues. We've helped athletes get a lot more flexible. People who were never flexible, never thought they could get flexible, helped athletes put on weight that never thought they could put on weight, helped athletes get faster who never thought they could get faster. At the end of the day, help athletes be able to be in the conversation to get a scholarship they never thought they would be able to get a scholarship, you know. So, and this is all coming from a guy who's done it, you know, who lives it, who got a scholarship, a guy who could have been better than he was if he was doing this training before, you know, and not making the mistakes I was doing before. So from that standpoint, you know, that's why I'm so passionate what I do, is because I just want to be able to help people. You know, so with my program, you know, $49.50 a month subscription in USD, you get coaching every single day. You know, so you send in your clips, you get coached on your form on every single exercise, every single day you train. You have my WhatsApp number so that you can get mentored by me at any point. You can send me a message and I'll respond and help anybody out, mentoring them on any questions they have. You get all of these videos for the workouts that you're in your app. You just go to the app, you see your workout for the day, you click on, oh, I don't know what this exercise is. I click on it. There's a video of, you know, the exercise being explained, exactly how to do it. So there's complete instruction. I have extra videos already built in that you can access for, how to become faster, how to become more flexible, how to run your 40, how to break down your 40, diet, actual examples, so there's a lot that goes into the program that I give people access to. And, it's not a high price. I keep it low because I want lots of people to be able to access it. I mean, at the end of the day, the more people I can help, the better. So, I mean, it took a while to create this program because I wanted it to be all encompassing. I wanted it to accomplish everything. And I didn't want to give athletes just one or two pillars of success when I knew there's 5, and I wanted them to have all of them. So it took a while to figure out the model of bringing it together. But now that I have it for athletes, it's ready to go. There's been a lot of athletes having a lot of success so far, and a lot of professional athletes using as well. Like Manti Te'o, for example, former teammate of mine with the Saints. He's one of the biggest believers of it, and how much it's helped his knee feel better, and how much stronger and more flexible he's getting. So those are things that that I love hearing and helping people.
Yeah, and your passion shines throughout the whole program. You post pictures on your social media of helping guys, texting those conversations back and forth. That is an access on its own that's well worth $50, just being able to have a conversation with a guy like you, bounce ideas back and forth. It's incredible. It's been an honor really to chat with you for the past 45 minutes here. I can't thank you enough for coming on. One of the last questions that we always ask the athletes that come on here is, what are some pieces of advice that you would give to the younger generation, maybe someone who's deciding whether they should be playing football, maybe didn't make the varsity team, XYZ, and you're the perfect individual to ask this question to. And I think you've got probably a plethora of answers, but maybe give us your Coles Notes version of what you'd suggest for them moving forward.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, football is one of the best sports in the world because of the nature of how it works. You have so many people that come together to pull the rope in the same direction to try to win the game. And it takes a collective effort. It's not just one guy, it's everybody on the field. It's everybody on the team who runs the scout team reps. There's so much goes into it. So that alone is special, as being part of something like that. Everybody working together. Also, the fact is, like I said earlier in the program, that football, sports in general, help you learn life lessons that you're going to need for the rest of your life. So, being able to learn and understand what it means to be a good teammate, being able to understand what it means to be dedicated, understand what it means to be self-motivated, to be better for yourself and for your teammates, doing something more for yourself than just for yourself. Those are the things that you should only need to hear to understand how important something like football can be for you, because what it's going to give you back in return is more than even what you can give the sport, because of the fact that there's so much to be gained by involving yourself. So not to mention, just as a little bonus, you get to hit people. So I mean, at the end of the day, you get to play a physical sport and unleash aggression and hit people. And if you think that sounds like fun, well, you're right, because it is. So get out there and have some fun.
That's awesome. Well, again, really appreciate it. It's been a huge honor. Thank you very much for coming on to the Athletes Podcast and sharing your story, some insight from one of the most decorated CFL players to have played the game, a multiple-time CFL All-Star, 2-time Grey Cup champion, Adam Bighill. Thank you very much for coming on the Athletes Podcast.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, we'll talk soon.